How you doing, everybody? I'm Tony Gaglione.
And I'm Shawn Adams.
Okay. We're doing a top 5 for segment 3. But we're going to skip our normal segment 3 and just kind of round it off with the top 5. We're doing the best MLB playoff rotations of modern era.
Modern era that we can remember.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's way better than what we have on here, but
I don't know. Your number 3 is pretty solid. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Anyways,
Go ahead.
I'll start off with my number 5.
I had to look for a second.
They didn't win the World Series, but they were. When you just say the names, prior to what we learn now about it, but then, okay, I'm saying prior to what we know now, but then when it happened in 2005, this is great. Houston Astros, Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte, Roy Oswalt. That's a solid rotation in 2005. Granted, Clemens and Pettitte are kind of old at that time, but still, only got there because of those 3 guys. And Oswalt, Oswalt was lights out at home.
Yeah, I know that we left out the Yankees because we hate the Yankees.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we're haters, and if you're a Yankees fan, sorry. But I have to say that Clemens and Pettitte together in New York was better than Clemens, Pettitte, and Oswalt in Houston.
Except Clemens, Pettitte in New York lost to the Florida Marlins.
Except Houston got swept by my number 5 team.
Yeah, that's true.
Chicago White Sox, 2005.
And I only like 2 of these pitchers on his team, just so you know.
Orlando Hernandez.
No.
Mark Burley.
Burley was good then.
Jose Contreras. And John Garland.
Garland was good then.
Not to mention, I mean, we're talking rotations.
Rotation, yeah.
But the bullpen was outstanding.
Oh, that's what really... See, that was the thing for that World Series. Houston couldn't crack the starters, and then when they did, they brought an excellent bullpen guy that usually limited the damage very well.
Yeah, they had great bullpen guys.
No crooked inning.
No, there wasn't a guy, who just gave up 2 runs here and there. It just didn't happen. We won most games by 2-1 or 1-0 or 3-2, things like that.
5-0.
5-0.
5-0 was the game 3.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Then you had Bobby Jenks. So if you had a
Jenks,
1-run lead, Bobby Jenks was mowing you down, and that was his one good year.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
That's right. Tony's number 4 team. I don't really like this pick, but he
I'm not gonna like it either. But the way I see it is that this team, if crazy circumstances didn't happen, probably would have contended for a World Series. It was the NLCS, and I'm talking about the Chicago Cubs. Now, you take out Bartman, that is the 3rd out of that inning.
Yeah.
Moises Alou was under it.
Yeah, well, hey.
You take away that's inning over.
Seat at Wrigley Field for that.
That is inning over
sits there.
to the World Series. I'm talking about Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, and Carlos Zambrano.
This is the good Kerry Wood, by the way.
Yes,
before he
Kerry Wood, who threw a perfect game with 20 strikeouts.
Yeah.
I'm talking Mark Pryor, who threw a no-hitter with I don't know how many strikeouts, a lot. I'm talking Zambrano, who can actually control himself on the mound and not throw temper tantrums and beat the heck out of a Gatorade container.
Yeah.
Throw the thing out on the field. The team was good. They had, I don't know if they had Derek Lee yet.
No.
They didn't have Derek Lee yet.
No, that was the year Derek Lee. Well, that was your number 2
The Pirates had Randall Simon, who they got traded to the Cubs that year. And they had some good players, man. They really did. So.
Yeah. In fact, year prior to that is with the Giants, or 2 years prior to that, the Giants played the Cubs in the playoffs too. The Giants beat the Cubs handily, and the Cubs were the favorite.
This is your number 4.
No, that's way before. My number 4 is a recent Giants team.
Oh, okay, I see Lincecum now.
Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain, Madison Bumgarner.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Lincecum, who's the anchor, Matt Cain and Bumgarner, who were relatively young at the time. I think Bumgarner was a rookie, and these guys, their team was a team of misfits. They had like Aaron Rowan, they had the Panda, who they still have now, but obviously Buster Posey was there.
Beard Boy.
Yeah,
Brian
Wilson's the closer, but the rotation in the playoffs was just nuts.
Yeah.
The freak. And the
Before
thing is that they won 2 World Series with this team.
Yeah, and the funny thing for the Giants is they come in last and they win a World Series.
Yeah.
Then they come in last, they win a World Series.
Last.
It's ridiculous.
Or somewhere near the bottom.
Yeah.
And them in the Padres. It's probably going to be back
pretty bad.
Yeah, my number 3 team, and they lost to my number 2 team. But I'm going to say this because I remember when they were young, and this team, they had one anchor, and this team was just dangerous. In fact, I remember this very vividly because my grandfather asked me who he picked Detroit to win the whole thing, and obviously my number 3 picks the Detroit Tigers. But I said there was only one team. I said there was only one team that could beat them, which is my number 2 team, and I called that World Series. But Kenny Rogers, Justin Verlander, and
Jeremy
Bonderman. Yeah, he had the glasses.
Yeah.
That year, that rotation was, I mean, all of them. Kenny Rogers was the movement pitcher, and Bonderman and Verlander were just lights out, like 100-mile-an-hour pitches. You know, and then, of course, Bonderman fell off, and Verlander is still awesome to this day. Kenny Rogers is no longer around. Kenny Rogers had the palm thing in the World Series. But that year, their rotation, and it wasn't just in the playoffs, it was that September, too, that those 3 guys went in there. So
Right on. I totally disagree because I think the rotation now for Detroit is better with Scherzer.
Whatever, Scherzer's had one good year.
Okay, my number 3 is probably should be higher than 3, but
yeah, I probably.
You're not even in your top 5.
I didn't include them because that's like ancient
my
times.
number 3 is the Braves of the late 90s.
The early 90s.
Early 90s, excuse me. Mid 90s. Let's go there.
Yeah,
Let's meet in the middle. Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, Greg Maddux.
Yeah.
How do you not win World Series, like multiple World Series?
Well, they only won one.
Okay, that doesn't count.
I know.
Okay, because I don't even think that. I mean, who beats these people in the playoffs? Like, I can't name for you. I mean, I can't name for you.
Minnesota Twins beat them.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't name for you many teams that beat them.
No,
Minnesota didn't beat them. They're in different leagues.
No, in the World Series, Minnesota beat them in the World Series.
What?
Yeah, one of those.
Oh, whatever. I think the Indians beat them in the World Series.
No, that was Indians, Marlins. Marlins won that World Series. Is it last time?
Yeah, Game 7 up the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, Tom Glavine.
That's a great rotation. I'll give you that. I agree.
I don't even know their
look back.
I don't know their closer. That's probably why they lost.
Maybe, but those guys are solid.
I can't see that team losing.
I mean, in the early '90s, middle '90s, Glavine and Smoltz were just nuts. And then Greg Maddux was young at the time.
They were just trading off Cy Young awards.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous.
It's like, here, you know what?
Yeah, I'm gonna
down here. I'm
gonna lose this one on purpose.
Yeah, I'll let you have it this year.
They always had the best record. There wasn't like a wild card.
Can you imagine being a pitching coach? You guys just go throw the ball. You sitting there with your pitch clicker?
I'm gonna look up who the other pitchers on that staff was. I'm going to do that. Go ahead and go to your next one.
Okay, my number 2 team, as I talked about, they beat number 3 team, was the St. Louis Cardinals. Only because these 2 guys have been lights out. Chris Carpenter, Cy Young winner, he's no longer around, and Adam Wainwright. St. Louis also beat Detroit, and they won another World Series.
It was 95, by the way.
Oh, 95.
Mid-90s.
Mid-90s. But they were.
Go ahead, keep going.
But St. Louis, it was like their team was. They had Albert Pujols, but it always seemed like when you needed a big start, it was Chris Carpenter. Oh no, guess what? Game 2, Adam Wainwright, and they were just shutting people down all playoffs. I think the only time that they lost was when they lost to Houston, but Wainwright wasn't on the staff at the time. But in the playoffs, just facing those 2 guys back to back was ridiculous because you're guaranteeing 2 wins for your team. And what are you doing?
I'm adding people to your number 1.
I know, but I know my number 1. I know, but these guys don't count. These 3 were the headlines. Anyways, the St. Louis Cardinals, they're back in this year. They've got Adam Wainwright. They've got Lance Lynn. They've got Waka. These young pitchers. Yeah, he's got these young pitchers.
That kid tore it up the other day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got these young pitchers, and they're doing it again. They're breeding another staff. I mean, their team isn't really a power hitters. They play small ball. They got some good RBI numbers, but basically it's pitching, and they're going to do it again this year, in my belief.
Steve Avery and Kent Merker.
Yeah,
the other
who
2.
are those guys?
I know who Kent Merker is.
You know who they are? Do you know who they are?
I know Kent Merker.
When you bought the baseball cards, those are the guys that were commons. You just like toss that stuff.
I got triples of Kent Merker.
Exactly. It's like, Kent Merker's got bubblegum residue on it. No big deal.
My number 2 is the Florida Marlins when they won the World Series with Josh Beckett, Dontrelle Willis, Brad Penny, and A.J. Burnett. I think that...
Willis didn't pitch, by the way. Burnett didn't pitch in the World Series, by the way. Just so you know.
Did they take them to the playoffs?
I'm saying, but it was Beckett.
Beckett just tear up everybody?
You know what? Hey, his fiance's dad we were in California when this happened,
Mm-hmm.
and before the series even started, I said Florida wins that series 4-2, and the Yankees. He's like, and he's a big Yankees fan. He's like, and then they lost.
You can't tell him anything. If
No.
you say one thing, he's going to go the other way anyway.
Yeah, but he was balling
So
the
you
Yankees.
can say, hey, the Broncos are going to smash the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. He'd be like, I'll put 20 on Jacksonville. It's ridiculous.
No, but he was like, oh, the Yankees. And he's naming off the players: Roger Clemens, Danny Pettit, Jorge Posada, Bernie Williams. He's naming all these players, and I'm like, Derek Lee, Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, this young Marlins team is dangerous.
Yeah.
And they won 4-2, just like I told them. I'm good at predicting World Series when it happens.
You didn't really predict it this year, did
No.
you?
I'm saying when you get the matchup, when you get the matchups, you get the pitching matchups,
So-
it's easy to see what's going to happen.
So basically, when Boston beats St. Louis 4-2 this year, you're going to say, "Hey, Tone, you were right."
No, I'm not calling that matchup.
I'm calling it right now, and we can talk about it later.
So you're going to say that Boston beats Scherzer. And
My number one is the Arizona Diamondbacks, when they basically had a two-man rotation in the playoffs because everybody else wasn't that great. Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling. Schilling, this is before the bloody sock.
Yeah, speaking of another great rotation, Beckett, Schilling of that Boston Red Sox.
Yeah,
year.
that was good. It wasn't the greatest.
No,
but it was good. I mean, it was a two-man. They were playing on like 1 day's rest.
Yeah,
and
Randy
throwing
Johnson,
complete game shutout.
Randy Johnson literally looks like a twig, a 7-foot
That was the
twig.
year I think that he exploded the pigeon.
Yeah, he hit the fastball and the pitcher just went poof.
The pigeon
Magic
literally
trick.
flew in front of his 97-mile-an-hour fastball and exploded when it hit it. It was craziest thing I've ever
Yeah,
seen
good
in
thing
my
that
life.
didn't happen in Nevada. That would have been a felony. But yeah, the Diamondbacks. Yeah, you're right. It was like a two-man
The only
rotation.
reason they're my number one is because they were pitching on short rest, one game off, and then they were pitching full games. They weren't getting taken out in the fifth inning.
No.
They were pitching complete game shutouts. It was insane.
Yeah, the D-backs. I don't know, the rotation D-backs. Okay, my number one is probably the greatest. I don't care what anyone says. This staff is another one of those staffs. It's like, how do you not win multiple World Series?
The only reason I don't have him on here is because I had a feeling, because you're just in love with the first guy here, that...
No, I like the whole team.
Yeah, well.
You look at the whole team. I'm living it. The Philadelphia Phillies. They went through back-to-back World Series. Tampa Bay Rays, New York Yankees. Okay, not only did they have Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, Victorino. Okay, but there's pitching staff. Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, who the Rangers should have never got rid of.
Yeah.
Cole Hamels. He also noted that they had Roy Oswalt and Jose Contreras. But
Which
Halladay
were both on our
pitched.
number 5.
Halladay is the last pitcher to pitch a no-hitter in the playoffs.
Yep.
The last pitcher to do so. And when you look at the timeline that they had with the team that they had Jason Worth as a youngster.
Yeah.
How were they? Okay, they went to back-to-back World Series, and I thought a dynasty was coming. And
Ryan Howard got hurt twice. I mean, you take out 40 home runs.
No, I know that. What I'm
You know
saying
what
is
I'm
like
So.
they had the making, but then you look at like Halladay doesn't do so well. Cliff Lee's still awesome. Cole Hamels is mediocre now, but at the time, their bullpen was awesome. Who'd they have? Used to be the Houston Astros closer.
Yeah.
Brad Lidge.
Yeah.
They had Lidgy.
He was great.
Yeah.
Wow, I
Yeah.
forgot about
Brad
that.
Lidge. He was the Houston closer in that series. In fact,
Wow.
Lidgy gave up the walk-off in Game 2 against your White Sox.
Did he?
Yeah, Lidgy.
Yeah, it was a 15-inning home run
yeah.
by Scott Podsednik,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is his only home run all season. Anyway, go back.
Yeah, anyways. But the Phillies, they had... I mean, I'm sorry, but when both those years started and the matchups for the playoffs started, and it's like, it didn't matter who the other team had, it didn't matter who their ace is. It's like, where are you going to get a win? Game 1 starter, Roy Halladay. Game 2 starter, Cliff Lee. Game 3 starter, Cole Hamels. Guess what? On short rest, we can pull Cliff Lee. If we want to give him regular rest, we got Halladay. What do you want us to do?
And if they're all tired, you still have Oswalt and Contreras.
Exactly. And so if they...
And they could probably sit those two in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Oswalt, I think, did come out of the bullpen
a couple times. Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree.
Who was the...
Forget my top 5,
Who-
except for the Braves.
Okay, who was the other closer that they had
I don't know.
that Lidgy
I
replaced?
don't watch National League baseball.
I know, it's so boring. But that was a great
I don't like
rotation.
automatic outs in the 9th spot.
Hey, there's a lot of times where the pitchers hit home runs.
Yeah, it's called Kerry Wood and Dontrell Willis. I have them on my list.
Dontrell Willis.
What
happened to that guy?
Hey, he played for the Phillies afterward.
I know, but what happened to that guy?
He's in the minor leagues somewhere.
What
Probably
happened
sitting
to
at
that
home.
guy?
I don't know.
Remember his leg kick? It was like this. And that's how he would throw, remember?
Yeah,
the leg was like literally like gymnastics high.
Thanks for leading on me.
Well, I'm just showing people, the viewers, the leg kick went up. I mean...
No, I agree. And you know what? Some of the best pitchers have that type of release, and it throws the other team off.
Like Lincecum, when he had the
Ubaldo
long hair.
Jimenez, he hides the ball behind his butt for 9.8 out of the 10 seconds that, let's just say it was 10 seconds, 9.8 out of the 10 seconds.
Of his delivery.
And then he releases from his butt. It's ridiculous. You can't even see the ball. All of a sudden, it's coming at 97 miles an hour. That's why he was good.
CC Sabathia is just a heavyweight. He puts the ball underneath his belly before he throws the ball. That was another pitcher.
Randy Johnson had the nice three-quarter delivery, which was really cool.
Talking about playoff rotations, they didn't do anything with it, but the Milwaukee Brewers had Zach Greinke, CC Sabathia that year. They went to the playoffs. They had Ryan Braun. They had Prince Fielder.
That's not a rotation.
I know, but they had Ricky Weeks. Pitchers. I know, but I'm saying they had a decent team, and then they didn't do anything. And Brewers, Ryan Braun.
Okay, next week's top 5 best teams to never win a World Series.
Oh yeah.
Called it.
Next week's
All
top
right.
5 best teams to win a World
we
Series.
agree.
If you guys have any teams that you think were the best that never won a World Series, make sure you leave comments section down below.
Yeah, definitely. And if you got a rotation that's better than that Philadelphia thing, I would love to hear it.
Yeah,
in the modern era.
If it's better than Philadelphia, it's got to be better than the Braves.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so those are the stipulations. I'd love to hear it because I know there ain't none. Okay, you can't, and I don't want to hear anything about the Yankees because you can't buy pitchers, especially when 2 of them are addicted to steroids. That's why I said Houston. We didn't know any of that stuff about it.
Yeah, not
but,
yet.
You know, we knew the Yankees were juicing. I mean, they had Giambi right after. Remember, he was juiced. Remember the year after he got caught? He was like all red-faced, sweating, striking out all over the place, scratching his back. Hey, the best player to never get recognition for the Yankees, Hideki Matsui.
Oh yeah, he was great.
That dude.
Yeah, he was awesome. There's a couple players though for the Yankees that really never got it. Like Jorge Posada never really got it.
Bernie Williams.
Bernie Williams, awesome. Bernie Williams is like one of the greatest Yankees ever.
Clutch.
And they'll never give that guy credit.
DiMaggio.
You know why? Because he played
Mickey
with
Mantle.
Derek Jeter.
Yeah, well, Derek Jeter, I mean, I'm sorry.
He just overruns everybody. Don't get me wrong, Derek Jeter is one of the greatest shortstops I've ever seen. You have to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, his numbers speak for themselves. But when you're playing with Derek Jeter, and Derek Jeter's the face, and then you have Alex Rodriguez, the pretty boy next to him, those are the only 2 people who get any credit.
Yeah,
And
that's true. And then when you have Roger Clemens, he also gets a lot of...
Yeah, I do not do steroids.
That's right. I don't do
Ridiculous.
steroids. Tony doesn't do steroids. We both have imaginary girlfriends, though.
Yeah.
Like Manti Te'o. I'm Shawn Adams.
Tony Gaglione.
Stay tuned next week. Make sure you tune in. Smacktalk, baby.
Tony Reality. Oh, I hit the camera. That's
Awesome.
20 points.
20 points. Just keep